Welcome to my kitchen. I'm about to start a main dish that is called beef lime rice, and I will share that cooking process with you. It's sort of a all-in-one kind of dish. This could stand alone if I didn't want to add anything extra to it. I will add something extra to it for nutrition, but it is kind of a one-pot dish that could stand alone if you wanted it to. I'm going to hurry the process along. I've got 2 pounds of frozen ground beef. So the way I'm going to hurry this along is they're going to get defrosted in some warm water. I'll push the defrosting process along by using the warm water. You could use a microwave if you want. I don't want to. Next step is I need to get out my Instant Pot. So I got my Instant Pot out from underneath the cupboard, and I'll plug it in. It's turned on, and then I'm going to cook up 3 cups of the white rice. If I have extra rice for this dish, that's okay. I'll have it in the refrigerator, keep it in the refrigerator as some for leftovers. All right, so I'll set that aside, and now I'm getting some water out of my Berkey. Actually, it might be better to bring the liner over my Berkey. So there's 1 cup. I'm basically going to do about the same amount of water as I have rice for the Instant Pot cooking. 2, that's 3. Now I think I want to do maybe a 1/4 cup more for each of the cups, so that's another 3/4 cup. I've got 3 cups of rice, so 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 3/4. So put about 3/4 more water in here, so the rice has enough water to absorb. Swish that around, let that go back in the liner. Close down the lid, make sure it's locked, and hit the rice button. So that's ready to go right there. I got out garlic and onion, that's called for in this recipe, so I'll go ahead and I'll prep those. The Instant Pot's almost up to pressure now, so that's going to turn on that timer in just a minute. The little button's going to pop up here. I need about 2 cloves of garlic. So take that off here. Those are good sized cloves. If they were tiny, I would use more, but those are nice, healthy sized cloves. So I'm just going to smash that a little bit, see if we can get the skins off easier by smashing them. And this is the part about garlic that I don't like, is getting the paper off. So there's many ways to get garlic into this recipe without having to peel it yourself. But I had a bulb here, so I decided to go ahead and do it the long way. You could just use garlic powder if you want in this recipe. Anyway, so I'm going to put the garlic in the press and press that through. Evidently, when you smash up the garlic and get ready for cooking, it starts to change it, and it makes it healthier or whatever. So anyway, there's my 2 cloves of garlic. That's going to sit and wait to go into the dish, but evidently that process makes it healthier. Set that aside. And now for the onion. So just cut off the ends of the onion, cut it in half, get the paper off from it without losing a lot of flesh. Try not to take a big old layer of onion off. Boy, prices are a little hard in the grocery store these days, aren't they? All right, so that's done. Rinse my hands. Cut up my onion here. This is how I do it. Bring that other half over. Do some slices. And now do the dicing part. Let's see if I can do it the angle where you can see it. I can get it as fine as I want or as larger pieces as I want. This recipe, it's just kind of a medium fine. So this is be the 1 onion and the 2 cloves of garlic. Off from a head of garlic. 2 or a bulb. 2 cloves of garlic. And this, and looks like it has 9 minutes on the rice, but I'm not in a hurry to have the rice done. That's the last part of the recipe, is adding in, mixing everything together. Okay, so there's that. One reason I consider this meal a 1-dish meal, if I wanted to go that way, is because it has a lot of cilantro in it, and I'm about to cut up the cilantro. But if you're one of those people who feels like you taste soap when you have cilantro, you could switch that out and you could use a lot of parsley in this recipe. I happen to like the cilantro, so that's what we're going to use. So I've got these 2 bunches of cilantro that I picked up this morning at Walmart, which is when I decided to make this dish, based off from thinking about the cilantro. So I'm just going to cut this up. And then instead of buying the ground beef that was there at the store, I knew I had some at home here in the freezer, so I came home to thaw it out. And I already had the onions and the garlic in a bowl on my countertop, so that was easy. So I'm gonna do this up. Of course, I had the rice in the pantry as well. I just had a quick run to Walmart to return something, and while I was there I thought I'd pick up a few things, and I started to think about what am I going to do for dinner tonight. Day goes a whole lot better if I plan dinner, if I do dinner ahead of time, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to be eating this meal before my husband and my son, and I tend to have my main meal in the middle of the day, and then they eat when they get home from work. So there's my not parsley, you could use parsley. There's my cilantro all cut up, and that's a lot of health and nutrition right there. The ground beef is ready to be cooked now, so I got out my very large cast iron skillet because I like to be able to cook in large things, and then I don't have to be as careful when I'm stirring. I don't have as many spills over the edges. Give you an idea, this is heating right now. To give you an idea of the size of this skillet, here is a standard size skillet, and a whole lot smaller. Let's turn the camera so you can see that better. Yeah, a whole lot smaller for a standard size skillet. So I will be cooking in my very large cast iron skillet, and I'm just warming that up, and I'm going to put the ground beef there in a second. Okay, a little sizzle. And I'm going to use this meat chopper to break it up easily. Still a little bit frozen right there in the center, but that won't take long to resolve. Just use this meat chopper, break that up. I did not add any fat to the pan, and this is ground sirloin, so it's very lean meat. But I'm getting this started here. All right, now I'm going to put in the onion and the garlic. Add that to the pan. All right, that's There, I'm going to save the cilantro till the end. Now this calls for a tablespoon of cumin and 2 teaspoons of salt. So I'm going to put the cumin in here and 2 teaspoons of salt. This is a tablespoon I'm using, but I can eyeball what 2 teaspoons are with that because a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. All right, there's that, and now just stir it together a little bit. Let it cook together. Once I have this browned, the rice can be added to it, but I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to pull back on the carbohydrates by using some rice. And in my case, I'm going to use some riced konjac noodles. But if I had cauliflower, riced cauliflower, I would use that in this recipe because then I get to increase my veggies here. But I have some, I'll show you just a second here. I had a package left of the Trim Healthy Mama rice. Trim Healthy Rice is what it's called. And in here, this is a no carb thing. It's rice or pieces that look like rice that are made out of konjac noodles. So these are the 2 packages that were in there. And the little pieces look like little rice pieces. So I will drain this and rinse it with some white vinegar water, and then that will go here in the skillet, and this will stand in for some of the rice. Well, I was off a little bit on the carbohydrates on this. The ingredients here are have the konjac flour, which has no carbs in it, but then they use some organic oat flour in here, and that added a little bit of carbs, but it's very, very low carb. Basically, actually, the carbs are balancing out with the fiber. 2 grams of carbs per serving and 2 grams of dietary fiber. So all the carbs really are just fiber to sweep through your insides. And what this packet amounts to is about switching out about a cup of rice for this packet of konjac rice pieces. I don't think Trim Healthy Mama is selling this anymore, but maybe you can find something like it in your supermarket. But what I actually think is a better deal is to do rice cauliflower in here for some of the rice, because then you are swapping out just the carbs of the rice for the healthy vegetable. Okay, so this is coming along nicely. I won't consider it cooked until I hear it kind of sizzle a little bit. I want to cook off all the liquid and I want to hear some sizzling, and I'll be done cooking this. But there's still some uncooked parts of the ground beef that I could see. Okay. This dish is called beef lime rice, so I need to get on with the lime part of the dish. I'm going to zest a couple limes and get the juice from them. So while I was at Walmart, I picked up a bag of organic limes, and this recipe calls for the juice and zest of 4 limes, and I've got 6 in here. Some swaps you could make are, you could use bottled lime juice if you want to get your juice equivalent to 4 limes. But also, to get the taste of the lime zest, you could use something like a lime essential oil. I happen to have this on hand all the time because of my Young Living membership. But anyway, I will taste the dish after I put in my zested limes and the lime juice, and if I want to enhance the lime taste of it, then I can use my lime essential oil drops. But right now it's on to zesting the limes. Okay, so just a matter of scraping it along this plane here and getting off the skin. And there's a lot of great nutrition in this skin of the lime right here. Phytonutrients, I think it would be referred to. So I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, but this is the idea. I'm just scraping off the skin, and I'll do this with all 4 limes, and then I will go ahead and I will juice them as well. I've got my pile of zest now, and I'm juicing the limes, and they're not very juicy limes. They're on the dry side, but I will work them over and get out the juice that I can. And like I said, you don't have to do this all from scratch. You could go ahead and use bottled lime juice if you wanted, and the zest of the lime, or if you have an essential oil that's lime. Is there a lime extract that would be, I don't know if lime is an extract like vanilla extract or whatever, but there's lots of ways to accomplish something. I'm just going the route of using the lime zest from the limes and the lime juice, because I know that food itself has lots of nutrition available in it, and I'm going for nutrition as well as trying to just fill up the belly and feed the mouth, make the mouth happy. Food, let thy food be thy medicine is sort of my philosophy in life. At least that's my attempt. For the 4 limes, I got the pile of zest, and I got maybe 2/3 of a cup of lime juice. So if you needed to substitute bottled lime juice, now you know how much, for about 2 pounds of ground beef. The ground beef is cooked with the onion and the garlic in it. The cilantro is cut up and ready to go in. The lime juice and the lime zest are ready. My rice is ready. It's been holding, keeping warm for 44 minutes now, so that's ready to go in. There's just one more thing. Ideally, I would like to enhance the nutrition of this dish by substituting some of the rice called for in it with riced cauliflower, because that way I'm adding in more veggies and I'm pulling back on some of the carbs. Not that I try to do no carb or, no fat. I used a lean beef, but this meal, this particular meal, I'd like to pull back on the carbs because I am using a lean beef. I just don't happen to have any riced cauliflower, and I didn't realize that when I was at Walmart. So what I'm using is I'm still accomplishing the same thing of pulling back on the carbs, because I'll pull back on the rice, and instead of the rice, I'll add the bulk of the konjac rice. So I have that here in a colander, and konjac noodles or products, when they sit in the bag, for some reason they develop this sort of fishy odor. And this product from Trim Healthy Mama isn't very strong on the fishy odor, but I still like to cut that down a little bit by, I use a white vinegar. This is just white vinegar in a spray bottle, and I'm going to spray it over the riced konjac pieces, and then I'll rinse it with water. So here you can see I just spray this over with some white vinegar, which tends to eliminate that fishy odor, and it doesn't hold on to a vinegary taste. So I sprayed that down well, and now I can just rinse it with water. Give it a rinse. That ought to be good enough. Let's take a look inside the Instant Pot and see how the rice looks. The real rice, not the konjac rice. Okay, take off the lid. Let the water drain a little bit. Set that there in the handle holder. And this looks pretty good. Just running a fork through it to loosen it up. Okay, that's going to be some nice rice to throw into the pot. My measurements were spot on, just a cup of rice to about a cup and a quarter of water. And then I hit the rice button on the Instant Pot. Now I don't know how it would be different if I'd used brown rice, because one version of my recipe would include doing it with brown rice, but I had white rice, so that's what I've used. Okay, that's very nice. Hot, steamy rice. Beautiful. Okay, it's time to put everything in the skillet and then give it a taste test and see what needs adjusting. It's been a couple years since I made this dish. It just came to my mind today when I was in Walmart, so that's how I ended up making it today. I don't plan my meals very far in advance. I'm starting by putting the konjac noodles in, because I know I wanted to use those up. That was my last package of them, and I wanted to use them. So now I will stir this in, and the next thing I will put in is the real rice. So konjac rice is in. Now let's put in some real rice, about equivalent to what I had for the konjac rice. Then I'll have leftover rice in the refrigerator. I think one more good scoop will do. Now I'm going to just mix and see how this looks together. If I want more filler in here, because I guess in a way the rice and the konjac noodles are the filler, making it possible to stretch the meat. So this is 2 pounds of ground beef, and I want this to be a real beefy dish more than I want it to be a kind of grainy filler dish. So I think I'm going to stop there with the quantity of the rice and the konjac noodles. And I really would have loved to have had some rice cauliflower instead of konjac noodles, but I could have done all three too. So now I'm going to put in the lime juice, and then the next thing I'm going to add is lime zest off the cutting mat. Stir that together, and I still have my cilantro to add. But before I add the cilantro, I think I'm going to go ahead and taste this and see how the flavor is. But before I taste test, I'm going to check my glucose, because I am still in the fasted state from yesterday. And so before I break my fast, I'd like to get my my bottom level fasted glucose number to see what that is. I'll share that with you. And actually, I'm not taking just my glucose number. I'm taking my ketone and my glucose number and getting a ratio of the two of them. So this is set up to take my ketone reading, and this is set up to take my glucose reading. So I pulled out 5 strips for my Dario glucose meter. And let's see. Okay, that's telling me I can place a drop of blood. I'm using my pinky today. I'm going to start with the ketone reading and then go on to the glucose reading. And let's see what it tells me that I have for ketones going on. Oh, beautiful glucose and 0.6 on the ketones. So, but that first number, I'm not taking that totally as my final word. I'm going to do multiple tests here because I can. I have an unlimited test strip supply from Dario. And see, look at that. It went up to, now it's telling me 90. Before, the number, I don't know if you could read it on the screen, was saying 78. And so I blow through test strips just to get a consensus on what is really the number. And I've only had to poke myself once. Now it's telling me 83. Only had to poke myself once because that little finger stick continues to produce a drop of blood for me. Okay, and I've got one more test strip here to use. That says 82, which is a whole lot closer to the 78 I think it read at first. Last little drop here. Let's take that. Okay. And 73. Wow. Okay. All 5 numbers here. Let's look at them. So 73, 82, 83, 90, 78, 97. No, that 97 was earlier. So these 5 numbers, 78, 90, 83, 82, 73. I'm going to say the most likely number would be an 82. And now, let me do something else here. I'll put everything back together. This is the meter, putting that in the Dario case, snapping it in, putting the lid back on here. And now I'm going to go to my spreadsheet, my health chart that keeps my records. That's where I enter my data, and I will be able to find out what my insulin ratio is. So let's do that. So it is telling my insulin ratio where I take 82 divided by 0.6. The calculation is embedded in this sheet. It figures it out at 137. So that's a pretty good insulin ratio. Now for the taste test. Okay, here we go. I suspect I'm going to want more cumin in here, but I'll taste it. I think I will. I think I'll put another tablespoon of cumin in there and just amp that up. Cumin is a very healthy spice. So that's what I'm going to do, add more cumin. Glad I can do that. So in the description box, I will put some information about the health benefits of cumin and also health benefits of the lime zest. I found an article about citrus zest, so I'll link that and you can read up on that. But very healthy things to add to your diet. Cumin and the citrus lime zest for this, and I've got the fresh lime juice in here. But as I said, substitutes can be made. You could use garlic powder, you could use dried onion, you could use onion powder, you could use bottled lime juice, you could use lime extract. I don't even know if that's a thing. I think it is in the baking section. I've used lime oil in the past when I wanted to add more oomph to the flavor of this, but I don't think I need to do that this time. So now I get to stir in all this beautiful cilantro, which thankfully all of my family members like the taste of. They don't taste soap. So now this has all this beautiful green cilantro in it, and that's so nutritious to include that. Cilantro helps detoxify the body, getting out heavy metals and stuff out of the body. So it's a good thing to add to your diet. There's my main dish, and now I just have to think what I want to add to this. But if I needed to sit down to just this alone, I guess that would do a 1-dish meal right here. And the reason I wanted to add the cilantro last is I didn't want to cook it and make it go dark. So I will try to heat this up very carefully for my husband and son tonight when it's their turn to eat. But I'm going to compose my meal now, and maybe I'll show you that when I'm done putting it together. I wanted to share you something about the Instant Pot. So I have the rice that's in the liner, and that's taken out. And now I can just unplug the Instant Pot and put the lid upside down here on the Instant Pot, so that if it had absorbed, if the ring had absorbed any smells or whatnot, it could air out while it's in storage under the cupboard. Since I wasn't doing anything with any fat, and I didn't do the fast release, so it didn't make the inside of my lid dirty, this is good enough. This can just go. I could put it away in the cupboard. So this is how I store my Instant Pot, with the lid upside down like this. See, there it is. Actually, I have 2 Instant Pots. They're both 8 quarts, and I use them both. I decided what I'm going to do to turn my one dish meal for myself into a feast. So I will share that with you. I'm going to make gnocchi greens to add to my meal. Okay, here we go with gnocchi greens. I'm going to pull out some scissors and dump this bag of organic baby spring mix into a bowl. And then I am going to use some olive oil. This is actually organic olive oil. I put it in this bottle to use it over and over again. I'm not going to use a whole lot. I'm just going to drizzle the smallest amount on here that I can in order to accomplish what I want to do. So just a little bit. That was very careful. I'm also going to use a very tiny amount of salt. A little bit more. The real thing that makes gnocchi greens is nutritional yeast. So I got this from Walmart, and I'm amazed that the Walmart nutritional yeast is the right kind of nutritional yeast. It has, I'm looking here for the word folate in it, not folic acid. You do not want to have the folic acid in your nutritional yeast. You want folate, the healthy kind of the healthy kind of this nutrient is folate. 8 on the end. You want to eat the 8. That's what I teach people. So not folic acid in your nutritional yeast. You want folate. Eat the 8. And now I'm going to put a very generous amount of nutritional yeast on here. And I'm going to massage it in, helping the nutritional yeast to cling to the greens by the use of the olive oil that I used. And hopefully I used just enough olive oil to make the nutritional yeast kind of stick. So looks pretty good here. See if I can force some more nutritional yeast into this dish, because this is really healthy stuff. So I'm just stirring it up with my hands, and then I'm going to put it in a bowl here. Got my bowl. And let me taste it and see if I need to do anything different to it. No, that's really nice. I'm just going to do it that way. Now, some people might want a more acid taste to it. You could do that with adding a little bit of apple cider vinegar, but I'm not. I'm just doing gnocchi greens with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and as much nutritional yeast as I can get it to hold on to. And there are my Nutri-Greens that I will eat with my meal. My feast is ready for me. And here I have the beef lime rice, the Nutri-Greens. I cut up a cucumber with the skin on because that's very nutritious to add to my meal. And then I wanted something sweet to end my meal with. So this is a sweet thing. It has some 0% fat Greek yogurt that I have sweetened with stevia. Underneath all of this stuff that you can see is some freshly ground golden flaxseed for the omega-3s, along with a layer of chia seeds for the omega-3s. And then there's great fiber in all of this. Then I topped it with blueberries, and there's some a fistful of goji berries. That's going to give a nice chewy texture to this whole thing. And then on top are, a smallish fistful of pumpkin seeds. So there you have it, my feast. Oh, here in my tumbler, that's just oolong tea that has been steeping for a while. So I will sip on that if I want something to drink. Typically, I don't drink a whole lot with my meals. So there's my feast. Here is my husband's meal, the meal that I served to him and our son later in the day when they came home from their work day. I gave them the beef lime rice, some steamed broccoli, and they had a side dessert dish of yogurt and cherries and sliced almonds. So we kind of ate the same meal, but I usually eat first and enjoy that, and then I sit with them at the table having a cup of tea while they eat their meal, and we catch up with each other at the end of a work day. That was really good. I enjoyed that meal a whole lot. I'm going to wrap up the video now, and in the description box, anything I mentioned that I can point you to will be linked in the description box, including the recipe for the beef lime rice. And I'm grateful for that recipe that a friend gave to me, thank you Gabrielle, many years ago. And so that's what I shared with you today. Now about the konjac rice pieces that I used, don't worry about that. It's not a product that's available from Trim Healthy Mama anymore. But use that idea to maybe think in terms of adding riced cauliflower, because then you can accomplish what I accomplished by pulling back on the carbohydrates, but you'll be adding a vegetable, so you'll be getting more nutrition from the cauliflower, and that will be very helpful. About Trim Healthy Mama, I'll put information in the description box about that. I've been using Trim Healthy Mama ideas since 2013. I know it was in 2018 that I stopped doing the frequent fueling part of eating every 3 to 4 hours. When I started using a glucose meter, which information will be in the description box about that, when I started using a glucose meter as my fuel gauge, it was indicating to me that I did not need to fuel that often. So my blood glucose value was guiding when I needed to take in more fuel and helping me see if I'd overfueled, if I'd overdone it, because my glucose values wouldn't recover back down to a healthy range quickly enough. Anyway, there'll be information in the description box about using a glucose meter as your fuel gauge if that is something that you're curious about. And that will be the end of this video.